In September, friend of Nerdland, Ed Pawlowski, the mayor of Allentown, Pennsylvania, announced a major political move right here on our show.
The big announcement is I'm here to tell you right here, first time I think on MHP, that tomorrow in the city of Allentown, I'm going to be announcing that I'll be running for governor of the state of Pennsylvania in 2014.
He's just the nicest guy in the world. Well, the results of the Democratic primary and the gubernatorial race are in, and we know who will be going head-to-head with sitting Republican Governor Tom Corbett. It's not Ed. It's Tom Wolf, a businessman who has spent $10 million of his own money on the race so far. The truth is that Nerdland buddy Mayor Pawlowski dropped out of the primary race back in February. He said he just couldn't spend the 8 to 10 hours a day necessary to try to raise the money to compete. According to the Lehigh Valley Express-Times, he said, quote, "It seemed like every time I sat down to make fundraising calls, another issue with the city would come up that required my attention. I found out the hard way. The campaigns are all about raising that money." So, our friend, Allentown Mayor, does not continue in his race because of what it costs. And I set up a mystery before the commercial about how is it that everybody hates Congress, but they keep reelecting their congressmen. Are these two things potentially connected?
Potentially. In 2010, in the Tea Party wave, you saw a lot of underfunded, surprise Republican primary winners end up actually becoming members of Congress, a little bit more like real people than some of the other members of Congress. And this is a real debate in Washington. You know, I work at a newspaper that has been the newspaper of Capitol Hill since 1955, and members of Congress tend to be more elite, better schools, having come from the cream of the crop, and are they really representative of America? I mean, Congress doesn't look like America, certainly, but now you look at some of the job lists, you know, some of those guys that won are auctioneers. There was a pizza parlor owner who's not Congress anymore, but you know, there's a little bit more representation there, and as Congress gets younger, it's going to start more and more resembling America.
There's been a long history, though, of the public not liking Congress, but liking their own member.
But there used to be a reason.
But the first time actually that broke was 20 years ago with the Newt Gingrich fueled Republican Revolution. That was when he sort of nationalized the election and got some change going. Now, though, it seems to be sort of kind of falling back to that.
But there used to be a reason. I mean, you know, because that's like, you know, grad school 101. You know, why does America hate Congress but love their congressmen? And there was an answer: bacon, pork, earmarks, right? The answer was that your congressman brought home stuff, but there are now no more earmarks. So how can we understand? Like, because, you know, yes, it was a mystery, and yet it seemed to have an answer.
I think it's apathy. I hate to say
Oh, no.
but I hate to. But when you're a young person coming out of college, and you have saddled with debt, and both parties haven't done anything about it, and the one thing everybody said to you is, you go to college, you get a job, you're going to do it. They have not. And they are not sophisticated enough at this point, because they're young, to pick apart ideas, to separate out parties. The parties have become one big money hole, and I think that people feel disenfranchised by it.
Okay,
I really do.
So I'm down. I'm down, particularly with mocking millennials. We did the best we could.
No, I'm not mocking them. I think it's real.
But I guess rather than lay it on the shoulders of like the people being insufficiently in tune with their government, what about the fact that the House fundraising event in the House, incumbents raised $935,000 on average, compared to challengers who raised just under $160,000. In the Senate, incumbents raised an average of $8 million compared to challengers who raised about $500,000. I feel you. I love people.
They have staffs.
Does it overcome that?
They have staffs. Once you're in, you have a staff. You've got people setting stuff up.
But one of the reasons those numbers are so high for incumbents, you know, particularly for Senate Democrats, they're chairmen of committees. They get massive, big groups of people that are trying to influence what they're doing on Capitol Hill. But the thing is, and the power on the House side is for the Republicans.
But shouldn't that worry us about democracy, Ro?
Yes. Well, first of all, anytime you're an incumbent, you have built-in advantages just of your name recognition. You get a government subsidy, basically, to promote yourself with your appearances, your newsletter, all those things. But, you know, there's a Washington Post analysis, I think a month or so ago, that said 91% of the time, the candidate who is the better finance wins. And that tends to be the incumbent, because one thing we cannot overlook that you touched on is the role of these big contributors and big money. They look at politics as an investment. And for them, the safer investment is often just the incumbent. And then with our Supreme Court allowing so much money into the government, that goes right to the incumbent.
This is precisely why so many of us who feel actually that, I know this is a little bit contrarian, but we often feel that there is actually not necessarily too much money in the political process.
Not enough.
But not enough in the sense of sometimes the thing that challengers actually can depend on are some of these super PACs that come in and that support challengers. I mean, and those are sometimes the only options they have, because they don't have the access that the incumbents.
In 2012, there were a couple races. Bloomberg's group was able to come in and surprise everybody, these underfunded candidates. So in a way, the super PACs are an equalizer.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this is an interesting kind of counter challenge, because it's also that counterintuitive reality that when an incumbent spends more, they are actually somewhat more vulnerable, because it means that they have a challenger with a lot of money. So you talked about Bloomberg, the kind of anti-guns. Of course, the other piece is our new environmental, cash that might be coming in. Do you think that has a real possibility?
Tom Steyer is one of the most interesting people in politics right now. I am surprised he's not trying to run for governor of California, and it always makes me wonder if
maybe he'll run for president.
Ambition.
Yeah.
Why does he have to run for
Well,
governor?
but we'll see. He needs to sort of prove a record, right? And he does have money. He's showing that he's willing to invest in something that he cares about. And again, I keep coming back to the young people, but that does matter. And it's not going to take very long before that generation is making decisions and calling the shots, and they care a lot about.
By the way, I hope
they care a
people
lot about having a moderate social.
I hope
base.
people like Liz over here are as outraged as his spending money as she is outraged at the Koch brothers spending money.
I think that the difference is there actually is climate change, there actually is pollution, and the Koch brothers are funding a wall of stuff that is not true, Robert.
Fantasy.
Sorry, honey. If you want to take me on that, I will be happy to do it.
They're funding falsehoods.
They're funding falsehoods, and when
Y'all keep that for the playground
That's
afterward.
right.
Y'all do that on the web. But I do. Look, this is meaningful. I mean, I think it's an interesting contrary. I mean, I'm sort of doing it as a thought experiment. Just this idea of, okay, what if we put more money? Certainly, it was true that when Senator Obama was running for president in 2008, and he developed that little, red click, or his team, that little red click. The idea of giving some money actually made people even more invested in the campaign. It's not actually the money that he won on ultimately, but it did create a sense of investment in the campaign.
It creates that sense, but you know what? The fact is, in that 2012 election, 0.13% of Americans gave more than $200. All of those millions of dollars in the elections are still coming from corporations, the huge super PACs.
Money follows money.
Well, they have taken over my show, but I'm going to say thank you to Christina and to Robert on this side of the table, and thank you to Liz and Raul over on this side of the table. And up next, if I am allowed to continue to speak on the show, we will do the unofficial MHP show kickoff this summer. We do it every year on the Sunday of Memorial Day weekend. We are not about to mess with tradition. There is nerdy goodness next.